Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, our presentation. The title of our presentation is Using Technology to Assess Interactive Skills in a Speaking Test. Jacob, Dan, and I, Natsumi, will make a presentation. Now, first, I would like to explain what this project is all about. This project is supported by JSPS Taken. As you can see here, the grant number. We have 4 objectives for this project. As you can see in a chart, we would like to develop a conversation test management method utilizing the LMS video management system. And here we are going to use a Moodle to record everything. And the second one is development of question format according to appropriate topic and level for verbal and non-verbal communication ability evaluation. So because we videotape everything, it's not like, it is not as the utterance by the test takers. As you can see, the interlocutor, the teacher, will ask questions and the test takers may interact between them. And everything will be recorded for the assessment later on. The third part is fair formative evaluation development of a rubric using can-do index. And this formative evaluation means this will be sent to the teacher so that the teacher can utilize it and we can draw the students' skills out of it and for improvement in a real class. And the fourth one is development of a training scheme for teachers as interlocutors and assessors. It should be easy to handle once it is set, and the assessors, the third people who are trained, will assess the videos. So we would like to provide enough training for them to perform their role.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Dan Newberry, and I'm going to talk about the rubric that we are using in this assessment. We are attempting to assess performance as it is aligned with the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, Japan. And just to provide some background information on the CEFRJ, or the framework that we are using, the CEFRJ is an adaptation of the CEFR, and it provides a rating scale that is more suited to the average English ability of Japanese people. And it also localizes other components of the CEFR. And just some differences between the CEFRJ and the CEFR from which it is, or on which it is based. The CEFRJ provides a pre-A1 level, and it also subdivides the A1 through B2 levels of the CEFR. It also locally, it aligns the can-do statements of the CEFR to the kind of local, it localizes them to Japan. And one example of that that is provided by Negishi, who is part of the CEFRJ development team, is the reading of postcards was perceived as being more difficult than some other things. And that is because Japanese postcards are a little bit more difficult than European-based or Western-based postcards. So that's one example of a difference, is realigning those can-do statements to where they are aligned more with Japan. And one other part of the CEFRJ that is important, particularly for our project here, is the spoken interaction grid. And what this does is it is a set of tasks that have been created to align with the CEFRJ, and that provides a standardized, like a 3-2-1 scale, and it also provides examples of what students should be able to do at specific language ability levels in relation to the CEFRJ. So it provides a set of tasks that align with the CFRJ. And in particular, with the CFRJ spoken interaction grid, it actually provides some competencies that are related to the CEFR, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, okay, in our test, the test constructs, we're actually attempting to expand beyond the CFRJ as far as relatability. And when the abstract for this presentation was written, we were lining up to, or we were wanting to align up to the can-do descriptors, but we've actually expanded that out, and we're trying to make the results of our test more relatable to general English abilities. And so basically we're wanting to see what students are like, how their discussion skills are. And so a lot of the can-do descriptors are very specific. So for example, can the student give directions to someone, or can they give a basic, So the can-do descriptors are often situation specific. And one example is to giving directions to someone. And so we want to work more at the competency level. And so we're looking to see how students can communicate or have a discussion about themselves. And that relates to the CEFR personal domain. And it also relates to the CEFR communicative language competence specific skills, and then also to the interactional competence. And so we're going to be testing these bottom sections, communicative language competence and then interactional competence, are parts of our rubric. So yeah, our current rubric is a three-point scale. Some of you may be thinking that's quite a small scale, and it is. I will discuss in the results section that we need to expand that out a bit, and we are planning on expanding that out into more points. There are 3 constructs. There's grammar and vocabulary, fluency, and then interactional competence. And the first iteration of our rubric was loosely based on research into the use of an empirically based binary choice boundary definition, or EBB scale, that was developed by Hirai and Koizumi. And while that scale was based on a specific task that they were researching, the combination of grammar and vocabulary into one scale made sense for our targeted constructs, and so we used it. Some examples in this grammar construct are utterance, complexity, and cohesion. Our vocabulary construct focuses on richness of the test taker's adjective and adverbs usage, and the verbs, also the verbs that the students can use, and also command of quantifiers such as much and many. The fluency scale is based on something developed by Fulcher, and some of the measures within this construct are hesitations caused by the test taker searching their vocabulary for certain words that they're trying to use, false starts, and then basically general burden on the listener. And our interactional competence construct is largely based on what assessors actually focus on when rating speaking. And this research is based on DeCoste and Brown's research. And the use of nonverbal communication, such as gesturing and gaze, as well as back channeling and active listening, are measured in this construct.
Thank you very much, Dan. My name is Jacob Peterson. As mentioned, I'm also on this team. My focus is mostly on tech, and that's mostly what we're going to talk about in the rest of this presentation. So with a grant like this, we have a lot of moving parts we have to use the technology with, so I'm going to go through each thing we do. First off, we have had a couple of iterations of what we've used for our recording. So we originally had the room set up in a large, not really classroom, but multi-purpose type room. And there was a bunch of echoing, which caused the problem. But not only that, people needed to book the room, so we couldn't use it all the time. So that's one change we had, is a different room. But I'm going to describe what we have here. So in this image here, it's basically just a monitor that we display a PowerPoint to the students. We'll talk about the PowerPoint in a minute. We have a student sit here and a student sit here. And because of COVID, we have a little shield to protect them. We also have a standing mirror, which you can't see it in this picture, but it's for the test giver. They can see the PowerPoints reflect in the mirror to know for sure that the student's able to see what they're supposed to see. So it's more just kind of backup and security thing. And over here on this side is the image, like the test giver will be sitting here, and we're using a Surface, Microsoft Surface. And so it runs the PowerPoint here. And at the same time, the Surface also has a camera right here where my dot is. And you can, we decided to go with that because we thought it'd be less intimidating for the students. If they have like a camera on a tripod focusing on them, the students might feel a little bit of anxiety. So, I mean, we're using this, perhaps it reduces the anxiety level. Yes, there is a red dot that appears, but it's not as noticeable. Okay, and as I mentioned, this is version 1. So version 2 has a setup that looks more like this. And it's basically the same setup, except for we added a microphone. We added a microphone that sits between both students. We haven't tested it yet, we just set it up. We're going to use it for the next round of students. But we noticed in a previous set of tests we did, some of the students would talk really quietly, and even just the distance from the services microphone to the students, it'd be really hard to hear them. And we either have to turn up the volume in post-production or just crank up the volume and kind of listen closely. So now we have a microphone that goes to a little tiny sound mixer that goes into the computer. And we hope that will help the audio quality. Otherwise, everything else is set up the same. It's in a smaller room. So we also created a bunch of how-to documents. Just for clarification, some of you might be worried. If you see the pictures or videos with students' faces, because they signed a waiver saying that they approve that. The students actually took the test. They did not sign a waiver saying that it can be like in presentations. So we made sure to blur their faces. But anyway, so we have a how-to documentation. We made a video, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's 2 students. We made a video that we show to the students before they take the test to kind of explain what to do during the test, what to expect. It's like a 1 or 2 minute video. And then on the right, you see some images and text. We made a how-to document for the test giver on what to do, what to expect, how to set things up. And we have yet to make something for the assessors. So far, we only have 2 assessors we're working with, and we've done one-on-one training with them. We don't have any documentation for them yet. Now, we've been using, I mentioned PowerPoints before, and we have been using PowerPoints. We have different question types. We essentially start the test with a how are you for each student, and then we ask them a couple of questions each. For example, like, tell me about your family, tell me about your university friends, something like that. Here's a screenshot of a PowerPoint, and you can see it on the bottom here. We have like the script for the test giver to use, but then on the top on the slide, this is what the students see. Now, we originally had the idea that we would ask a question, and based off the student's answer, if they're able to hit certain points on answering it, we would give them a more difficult question or easier question, and actually made hyperlinks in here where you would have, if the test question was too easy for the student, we would click on the right here and jump to a more difficult one. Or we click on the left here and jump to an easier one. We kind of scrapped that when we realized we just kind of used this same set of questions over and over again because it's easier to kind of test our rubric that way. We might come back to this later. And now I'm going to talk about how we make images for our PowerPoints. It's pretty straightforward. We have a set of questions in the PowerPoint itself where they have to look at the image and talk with each other. We also have videos, but we have make our own videos. I'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, we use a Shutterstock. It's a subscription thing. Ours is, I think, 10 downloads a month we're able to use. And it's really useful because they have all kinds of images. Like you do like a search for like an Asian student eating ice cream, and there's all kinds of images that pop up. Anything, you search for pretty much anything. And then we add it into a PowerPoint slide and ask questions. So here's an example of a image question we have for students. So the students are given a moment to read through these, and then we ask them to talk with each other about which example they would pick. And then we basically record them and let them just kind of talk back and forth. And after a certain period of time, either if they keep talking and talking and it goes on kind of long, we just cut them off and say, okay, you're done. Or if we notice that they pretty much run into a dead end, we kind of notice that with the lower level students that they'll just kind of stop talking. They'll just hit a wall and be quiet. And so that's when we move on to the next question. But as you can see, we try to have it more culturally connected to them. So we have an Asian student named Kimura-san. Before our first iteration of this question, we had like a David and some, a Western looking person. But the students felt more connected when they had Asian looking people. And then we also types of jobs students might have. We also made videos in-house for the students. So the last set of questions, the students would watch a little silent video and then they have to talk about it. To do so, we hire some students and then they will make the video with me. So here's an example of raw footage. I muted the sound because all our videos are going to be silent anyway, but here's an example. As you see, it's about like a 40-second video, but then I have to edit it and clean it up. And so this is a new video we haven't actually used in the test yet. We're not for sure how it's going to do, but we think it might be a little bit easier for the students to understand what's going on. So as you can see, there's like long pauses. We have to watch students walk around and stuff. And so it kind of really adds a lot of time to the test. Now, obviously it's not raining here. And so we take a video like this and we edit it. I'll show the post editing here in a minute. Another example here at the very last second, the student looks at the camera. We don't want that, so we cut that out too. So we take the video and put it into a program called Camtasia. This is a one-time purchase. It's really not that expensive. We bought it a while ago. I forgot how much it was, but it wasn't too bad. Things like maybe Ichiman Gosen and you get 2 licenses or a license for 2 computers. And so we edit it and clean it up. And then here's an example. I added some fake rain and I darkened it. It might be a little too dark, but so yeah, as you can see, I kind of cut it so you don't have to worry about watching them walk around so much. And so we made a series of videos, and every time we do a new batch of students, we try the different videos to see which ones work. But as you can see, this is what this video will look like. So hopefully it's successful. So this was one of our more successful videos, but we had one issue where students would go on some random tangents, and it's kind of hard to tell which way they want to go with it. With the previous example of the umbrella, we're guessing that students will talk about someone stealing an umbrella, what to do, what should that girl watching do, what should the girl who lost an umbrella do. But in this situation, we assumed that the students would just talk about, they ran into each other and you pick up the papers. For the most part, students did do that. But we had 2 different situations where students started talking about a love story, like it was like a drama or something, and it was entertaining, but the students' levels weren't high enough, and so they kind of ran into some territory they had a hard time communicating with each other with, and conversation just fell apart. So it's kind of hard to guess their levels of communication ability because they didn't have the vocabulary. And now I'm going to talk about Moodle. So we have the test. basically, students come in, we record them, we have the test set up in PowerPoint, the test giver gives the questions, the students answer the questions, it's all recorded, then we upload it into Moodle. So in Moodle, we originally started it as an assignment. So the assessors would just log in, go into the assignment area and then grade the assignment. The issue is that the way it was set up in Moodle is either the assessor has to watch the full video and then grade, but it's hard to go back and forth. Or if they wanted to watch the video and grade with the built-in rubric that Moodle has, the screen was kind of weird and you have to like minimize one side and it was really kind of clunky. So we decided to try the quiz tool. And here basically the assessors are considered students and the video is a quiz or test. And they just have to go in and watch the video inside the test and give points. We have basically a value system where you just type in the answer 1, 2, or 3. Here's kind of example of how it currently looks. We are working on it. The rubric areas are collapsible, and they can watch the video anytime. They can go back and forth. And then at the bottom there, you can see they put the point in for 1, 2, or 3. And so we feel like it's a little bit better because they have access to the rubric and the video at the same time, but we need to do some tweaking on it still. And if you're curious as to how we got the video into Moodle, you could do embeds yourself. You can also just go to YouTube, copy and paste the embed code, put it into Moodle. I added a plugin into Moodle. I can't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head. I think it's called like YouTube. I think it's like the YouTube plugin is like what it's called, but you might want to double check. But basically what it is, it links the YouTube account to my user account in Moodle. So then when I set up these quizzes, I just click, add a video from my account. I just scroll through the videos, click on it, and it just pops in. So it's a little bit faster, but it's not like any different than copy and paste and embed yourself. So one reason why we like the evaluations is that we can actually see what the assessors did just by logging in and getting a snapshot, because they're viewed as students in the system. And so the points they do on the quiz will be shown and we can just compare them to the other assessors. So up here, you can see assessor A and B gave a student an 8 out of 9 and a 5 out of 9. And then if you look down below, that same student, the same assessment, you can see the breakdown. So Q1 is your grammar, Q2 is fluency, and Q3 is your interaction ability. So you can see where the assessors, their scoring was a bit different compared to each other, but you can see they gave them a 2 and a 3 for grammar, a 2 and a 3 for fluency, and a 1 and a 2 for interaction. So we really like this because we're able to see in one screen what the assessors have given for scores. And in Moodle, you can, because these are considered quizzes, we can actually pull up graphs and stuff showing different scores, and it's really nice. So now we kind of talked about what we're generally doing with the technology in relation to testing students' interactions. We have some final thoughts.
Okay, now I would like to go over what next steps are for us. The first one is assessor training and accessibility. We have to work on the documentation of assessors' process. For example, providing the training video or some manual and stuff. And the second point is adjust the rubric. As you can see, as Dan mentioned briefly, we have 3-point scale, which may not be enough. So we have to adjust the rubric and develop the newer version or upgraded version. And the third point is increase our sample size. We just tried out this and that, and so we have to have more students taking this test to so that we are sure that we can use it in a real assessment situation.
And so everyone, thank you very much. Yeah, just some last points here. Just some things to bear in mind when you take up a project like this. number one, it's always changing, and just be prepared to adjust your plans. It is iterative. You will never be finished with something like this. At least that's how I feel, and I think I share that with the other two people that I'm working on this project with. We're constantly tweaking things, as Jacob talked about, on the technology side, and we're constantly reassessing where we are and where we want to be. And so it is definitely an iterative process. Things can easily become time sinks, and I think when looking back at what Jacob was talking about, things like we often talk in meetings, and he talks about the videos, making the videos can become what you think is going to be 15 minutes turns into 3 or 4 hour long process. And so it's very easy to get lost in the moment doing development on this. So be careful with that if you do take up something like this or are working on something like this. And the last point here, technology is there to be creative. Basically, as many of you probably know, some things when we're working on a project like this, the official use of these things, basically tweaking things to bend them to what you need them to be, especially with Moodle. Looks like, Jacob has used Moodle in an unconventional way, and it works. It's been working out for us. So just be ready to take technology and use it in a way that maybe it's not specifically designed for. And we're finished here. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to come listen to us. And if you want to contact us further about this project, please do. And there's some references, and we're on to the Q&A. Thank you.